Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever you are choosing to watch this newest episode of Gamer Disclaimer with
Woo!
Mag and Wade. My name is Wade. My co-host is named Mag. Mag, how are you doing on this fine recording session moment?
I'm doing well. Just watched Survivor for the first time with my wife. And that was interesting.
Wait, hold on. For the first time for you or for Haley,
No,
or was this season one of Survivor?
no, she started watching it 3 seasons ago and now watches it every week. And I have never watched any of it, and so I watched it with her tonight. So
What season of Survivor are they on? Is it like 50?
48, 50's coming
48?
up.
Very close to 50. Okay,
Yeah,
good. I watched seasons 1 and 2 of Survivor and have not watched Survivor since.
there you go. Yeah, it's interesting. It was cool to watch, but yeah, I'm good. Just hanging out. How are you?
Also good, jolly good, very good. Excited to get into our topic, which I am still not entirely convinced that I know what you were hoping for, but I guess maybe this is the opportunity, the pay no attention to the man behind the curtain kind of thing, or how the sausage is made, inside baseball, whatever metaphor you're going to go with in this fine moment. Mag floats these topics to me, or I suggest a topic to him, but then we don't do any further discussion on it until the call. So if we have games that we're going to talk about, we don't know what those games are until it comes up. And this is one week where I feel like I maybe should have pressed you for more information about what the topic of the week is to better curate the selections that I made. But in asking that, it would have sullied my utter surprise at whatever your selections were and your reasons for choosing them. And if that wasn't enough of a tease, we probably should just tell people what we're talking about on this
Yeah,
this
so more behind the curtain because I am having a baby here. Well, my wife's having a baby very soon, 5 days out from recording. We are recording episode 11 and 12 early, and so we have not really played anything different in the last since our last recording day. I don't assume. I have not been playing anything different. I'm assuming Wade hasn't either, so we might skip that. What have you
I
been
tried
playing
to
this
load up
week?
I tried to load up a game today that I was going to be able to a game that I was going to be able to put in console commands and just unlock all of the achievements instantly, but that didn't work for me, so I can't count that as playing a game. Just
Yes. Well, this is the only time we will skip that because I think we might have a longer discussion today, and I'm very excited. I think we've had a lot of good topics, but I think this is going to be one of our most fun topics, and I'm really excited for the chat. So, the idea was to put together a beginner gamers guide, and what I mean by that is basically a lot of people that are watching our show are probably gamers and have been playing games for a really long time. But I thought about people like my wife and other people who might check out the show that are friends of mine that might not play games or other people like that, and same with Wade as he shares our show across different outlets. And we thought, there's probably a lot of people who don't play games that are new to gaming. And so I thought it would be a fun conversation topic to talk about if we had to recommend two to three to four games as beginner starter games, or the first video games that we would recommend to people to play that are just getting into video gaming. What would be our suggestions and why? And so that is where that started. And I think that this conversation is probably going to go a lot of different ways. I know even in the lead up, we did have a little bit of chat, and Wade was talking about, well, what are the things I would want them to know about games? What are the things that are important? Like this, that, and I'm not going to spoil anything else, but I'm very curious to see what he has to say. And I know you're probably interested to hear what I have to say. And it'll be fun to see as lifelong gamers what we would value and say are like core gameplay things and core game things that we would say would be really good for a beginner. Because I feel like we're probably going to have different ideas. Maybe we'll have different like similar ideas, but we'll have different game suggestions. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, Wade. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it'll be fun when it's over because I've been losing sleep over trying to figure out the right things to come up with.
I don't know about that. So, well, I came up with 4 games. I would say I have a top 3 and an honorable mention. And so I'll probably work backwards from honorable mention to 1. How many games do you have, Wade?
It looks like I have about 3.
Okay. So do you want me to start with honorable mention?
I need you to just start. It makes no difference to me. Mine are in no particular order. If you have yours ordered, you can start frontwards or backwards, however it is that you want to do it. But I need to hear how you are, how you came to the conclusion of this being a good game for beginners or whatever it is that we are referring to it as, so that I have a springboard to talk on these other things. So
Sure.
maybe you're one that has the most detailed explanation as to why is where you should
Well, I
start.
can't spoil number 1 for you. So I will give you the least amount of information possible because my number 4 or honorable mention game is Sonic Mania. And so this is kind of a homer pick for me simply because I love Sonic. Sonic is important to me, as you can see. Sonic is a big deal, but Sonic Mania is very widely regarded as the best 2D Sonic experience because it is it kind of takes all the previous games, all the highlights of the previous games, and kind of highlights them. There's levels from all of the previous games in that game, which is cool. And for me, as somebody who is a major fan of platformers and platforming in general, I feel like an obvious pick here might be like a Super Mario Brothers, but I wanted to have a little bit of a homer pick in the Sonic 2D games. But a lot of my gaming prefaces, and I think a lot of translatable, like learning, you can learn how to do like play a lot of other games if you can learn how to control characters in 2D platformers, in my opinion. So a lot of the like, and also as like an intro of like, hey, like I want to get into retro gaming. Most of the games, Super Nintendo, Genesis, NES, and anything before that era, the most popular genre of game, in my opinion, and the most successful was 2D platformers. And so, if you can figure out and understand Sonic Mania, then you probably can figure out and learn how to play a lot of other games that are kind of in that retro category as well. And also, Sonic Mania is like really fun. It is a little bit tough, and I have a little bit of a unique story about this. So, my friend Justin, he's kind of gotten back into gaming a little bit. He has a Switch, and so for his birthday, I bought him Sonic Mania. He had never played a Sonic game in his life, and his wife actually had a Genesis growing up and played Sonic, and then he has a 8-year-old kid who plays, and so it was fun to hear over the next 2 weeks of, oh, I couldn't get past this level. I couldn't get past Chemical Plant Zone. This boss was giving me fits, and then we went over to their house and Harrison beat the boss that he couldn't beat, which was really funny. But then like his wife was able to get further than he did, and it was kind of like a little mini competition in their house. But I'll go into a little bit more of this later on. But the last thing I'll say about the Sonic Mania and why I chose it is it's a 3-button game. It's a jump. Well, it's a 2-button game really. It's a jump and a down and spin dash, and an arrows. And so I think that is something maybe that will come up later, but I think like a 2 to 3 button games are kind of important for beginners because if there's too many controls and too many things that they're trying to figure out, then it can become very overwhelming and become frustrating because they can't do multiple things at the same time. So Sonic Mania is my honorable mention. Like I said, I think it's going to be a longer discussion because our explanations and things. But yes, so that's my number 1, Wade.
I can see why you specifically would recommend a Sonic game to a beginner gamer. And of the Sonic games that you could choose, I think that probably is the best one. I said, I hope, I don't want to say I hope. I imagine that there are not more Sonic games on your list coming up later
Have to
because
see.
I think that Sonic Mania is probably the best Sonic game for a beginner. It has that old school 2D platforming elements with a fresh coat of paint and some of the more modern conveniences about it too. So I think that's a very positive one. Um, well, for my first game that I'm going to select on here for a beginner gamer, and the way that I would treat a beginner gamer is you absolutely, if possible, should be playing with somebody. So I have a whole slug of co-op games that I'm going to just slot into this. So I know that Mag recently was playing Split Fiction with his wife. I feel like Split Fiction is probably an excellent game for a beginner to play. Other games from that same Hazelight studio would be It Takes Two or A Way Out. I think that they've gotten progressively better as they've been going. Um, my wife and she has played video games in the past. Like, I think that for whatever reason, she always like recognizes BioShock for some reason. I don't even know if I've spent a tremendous amount of time in BioShock, but she claims that she played it a whole lot back in the day. But one of the earliest games that we played together cooperatively was Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure. And one nice feature about that game is that both of your characters are always on the screen at the same time, and you cannot leave the same space unless both of you are leaving the same space. So, very handholdy in that, you can't get lost in that regard. The same can be said for a lot of the Traveler's Tales Lego games. A lot of the early ones also had that same restriction where you were not allowed to stray too far from your co-op partner. I can also recall one of the first Lego games, I think it might have been Lego Batman 2, where once you got too far away, it just broke into split screen, and the wife did not appreciate that. She
Hmm.
did not like it at all. But
Hmm.
um, of the games that I mentioned, I know that like Split Fiction or It Takes Two do a good job of introducing different things that you might be doing within your, two button structure or whatever it is. And it might get complicated. So that's just a good opportunity to let somebody know that sometimes buttons can do different things. And also, I'm sure that we'll cover this with other games that we mentioned. You said that being able to navigate platformer is a good way to know what you're doing in a 2D space. I feel like a lot of those games are going to be simple in helping you learn to control a camera in a 3D space to navigate things around a little bit on that front.
Yeah.
So those are the co-op games specifically that I mentioned. But like honestly, anything co-op because you can be a little bit more like I said, handholdy, helicoptering around somebody to make sure that they're seeing all of the things, and you're always right there if they have any questions to keep them on track in their gaming journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, like you mentioned, I just played Split Fiction with Haley, and she's actually somebody I thought of a lot in this list because she is not a gamer by default or by her whole like in her whole life she hasn't really played a whole lot of games, but she has played some, and so but
I
also
wasn't sure. Oh, sorry. Well, I wasn't sure when you were putting this together if you were thinking more towards your semi quasi non gamer wife or more towards your children.
well, and I mean it's kind of I try to take different perspectives when I was thinking through this of like people like wives or girlfriends or boyfriends who don't play or kids or you know older people that or younger, just all sorts of different people. So, yeah, I really like what you have to say about co-op. It kind of helps transition into my next game, because this game that I have as number three is definitely enjoyed more with friends, probably than solo, but still can be had fun being played solo. So I put for my number three game, I have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And so I think that 64 is a little bit more simple, but I also wanted to take into account the quality of game, and I think that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is like the highest level of Mario Kart. And so The reason that this is on my list is because while it is a little bit more complex with items and things of that nature than other simple racing games, it's relatable in the fact that 99% of the population knows how to drives cars. And if they don't know how to drive cars, or if they don't drive a car, they sure know how to steer a car with a joystick. And so it is a pretty simple game. And then one of the things that is great about like our family playing it is when we play, like if you play 50cc, you can turn on the antenna on the back of your car and it will make it so that you cannot hit walls, and it will pull you pull you off of the walls and pull you from falling off of the ledge. And so I know that that's been some of the frustration that I've had playing with new people on like Mario Karts in the past is, if there's no rails, I'm constantly falling off the map or smashing into the rails. And so in comparison to a game like Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, which I play with my son, he has a really hard time with that game because like he's constantly slamming into walls or getting lost if there's no walls. Whereas with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there's guardrails a little bit. It's kind of like bowling with the bumpers on. But yeah, and so eventually you kind of learn about what the items do. But I think the game at its core is pretty simple. You're driving around, and there are a lot of courses. And of course, just like with Sonic Mania, and this is the last time this trend will be on my list, but it's cool how it pays tribute to courses from the previous games. There's a whole dedicated section of cups right on the bottom half that are all maps from previous games. And so I think that's kind of a cool thing as well, because you're kind of like you're getting that Mario Kart 8 experience, but then you're also getting a little bit of the experience of the previous games without even knowing it. So yes, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is game number 3 on my list of going backwards.
It is very interesting to think about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being somebody's first Mario Kart game, and then racing on tracks on that, and then if somehow perchance they went back and tried some old Mario Kart games, like I don't want to say it's reverse nostalgia, but it's weird to think of somebody that would be approaching a series backwards after they were exploring these things to go, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I played this on a newer version of it to see what it's like on an older one. Yeah. I have the briefest of stories about that antenna. When I first got my Switch and was playing Mario Kart 8, all I was trying to do was drift. And I don't think you can drift when you have the antenna, because
not well.
I could not figure it out. I'm like, why can't I drift? All of these things. And then I saw the little antenna on the back, do blinking and whatnot. And I turned it off and I'm like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah. Which I turn it off for myself, but obviously because you can, which is a cool accessibility feature. So
one other thing with the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, yes, it's great to be able to learn how to use the joystick to drive, but it also has motion controls.
Yeah, that's true.
If that's a stepping stone that you need to get into more video gaming, it's like now it's just a one button game with turning the wheel yet too. So
yeah.
I liked the parallels that you made between real life and people who probably have driven a car into wanting to drive around in Mario Kart. The next, apparently, I think I told you that I had like 3 games, but apparently I just have like categories of games. I promise that I have actual games on here as well. But from what you said and talking about how, like driving a car like leans right into a racing game, the same could be said for plopping somebody down in like Forza Horizon 5, an absolutely beautiful open world game where you can just drive around and find random races to go and do, all kinds of fun things like that. If I ever was going to try and trick my father into playing a video game, it would have to be a racing game, would have to be the gateway drug. You know what I mean? Like that's just how we're going to ease him into it. I feel like a beginner game should be something, if possible, that already caters to an existing interest that you have. So if you like racing, obviously go and check out a racing game. That's going to be something that's appealing to you. If you like sports games, there is a plethora of sports games for every sport under the sun that you can check out and see what's going on, be they new or old. Um, I sat my grandfather down when he came to visit. Well, for starters, he came to visit, and while I was working, he just watched old westerns on Netflix all the live long day. But then after work, I'm like, I'm gonna fire up the Xbox, and I played Wheel of Fortune, and he loves Wheel of Fortune, and
Nice.
I played through like 3 or 4 rounds of Wheel of Fortune in a row. And normally the guy's stuck with only watching one episode of Wheel of Fortune a day. You know, he only only gets to watch that once. So he's like, it just keeps going. We can just keep doing this forever, trying to solve the puzzles.
Hmm. That's cool.
Um, Pivoting from that though, obviously your interests can lead to what games you choose. But if you want to play a video game of all video games, I feel like you need to sit somebody down and make them play Tetris. If they've somehow avoided it up until now, I don't know how that's possible, but just playing Tetris. Very simple controls, you know, left, right, down for fast falling and spinning the bricks. Um, it goes as long as it needs to go until you know you end up losing. That's one element that I feel it's important to teach somebody who's playing video games is that you're gonna be able to do well, but you might not always be able to win. Like all things can come to an end, and that also can be a good stopping point for. Well, now after I finish this game, I'll be done, and also another opportunity to say just one more round. You know, those
Yeah.
kind of things. But like Tetris has been remade over and over for a reason. I was going to recommend Tetris Effect because that's probably the most modern and visually and auditorily, I'm just making up new words over here. Visually and audibly engaging Tetris game, but I mean any of them would be fine for somebody to check out and play.
Is Tetris the first roguelite, right? Because it's like you just keep going and then you start over and just.
I think roguelikes you need to like gain abilities as you go, right? There's
That's true.
dynamic things that change about it. It's just a puzzle game. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean Tetris is so iconic and classic, and I think it's really simple to understand. It's like, hey, you have blocks, you can rotate them, and you got to make them in a line. And if you get 4 of them, it's called a Tetris. You know, like very basic, and it's never ending. So they're like, I think it's cool that they can continue to like get better at the game and like challenge their like it's very old school minded, but like challenge their high score. You know. And try to like do better. So cool. I like that recommendation. My number 2 game. Uh, so I think that I took into account the modern gaming day and age, and in terms of games that are going to be coming out and a stepping stone game to then potentially delve into other games. And so I have Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch as my number 2 game. I strongly considered Super Mario 64 because I think that game is awesome and timeless and just is fantastic. It does have the rotating camera, which you had talked about. But I think that it is probably not the pinnacle, but very, very highly rated at the top of 3D platforming. And it also has the hat gimmick, which is really cool. But the game is just so simple. And the reason that I picked it over Super Mario 64 is that there are hints of open world elements in Odyssey that are not in 64. Because in 64, you go to the level and then it's like, okay, now you need to take this path to get this star. And then you take this path to get this star. Whereas in Odyssey, it's like, here is your playground. There are walls, but now explore what's inside of these walls and retrieve what you can find, right? And I just think it's a really stellar game. I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite games of all time, but just playing through it, it's just like, man, like in terms of 3D platforming, like sure there might be other games that are like better, but in terms of just simplicity, I think that it is a great gateway game for the more new gamer that's looking to become a little bit more hardcore. because it does have those elements like partial open world exploration, but then also like enough of a straight line compass to keep you going. And of course, I love platformers, so that's my pick for number two.
If we were having this discussion in 2005, obviously you would have put Super Mario 64 in this slot because Odyssey hadn't come out yet. Super Mario 64 is an excellent game in that Mario is just absolutely responsive to the inputs that you want him to do for the movement that you're trying to do. Odyssey maintains that as well, obviously. You know, that's still the same kind of thing to go on that front. Um, I'm curious. So, like, I did not put any Mario on here, so I'm glad that you did. I probably would have went with like the original Mario Brothers, but I also don't know if that's the kind of thing that somebody's going to get frustrated with early on and not want to continue through. Super Mario Odyssey, you can't go 4 steps without falling over a moon and feeling like you've accomplished something. So
Yeah.
that's another way to positively reinforce that somebody is going to hopefully continue the game, stick it out to the end, and see that awesome finale that you get to experience at the end of Super Mario Odyssey. Very good game. Very good
Thanks.
game.
Glad you like it.
I was thinking about letting somebody experience like because I feel like even at the end of all of this, we're not going to have done the best job of encapsulating all of the things that video games can be. I'm playing Elden Ring right now, not recommending Elden Ring to any new gamers, but half of the experience and the enjoyment that you get from Elden Ring is failing 50 times to succeed once because that one time that you succeed makes the other 50 times worth it. And I don't know if it just takes a special kind of crazy to put yourself through something like that. But as far as video games being art and something that can be appreciated in kind of the same way as a movie with more interactive elements, I would, if it pleases the court, put forth God of War 2018 on whatever the easiest, babyest difficulty mode that there is for a beginner gamer because there are a lot of excellent and engaging cutscenes and QuickTime events, and throughout the game, there is world building and dialogue and discussions that are happening that can be so interesting and enthralling to engage with. Um, it also might be like it was for me, an entrance to go back and check out some of the older games, though I think that the story stands on its own and gives you context for its characters, even not knowing all of their previous history. You know, like you just get the sense that this guy, Kratos, used to be something and now he's not that anymore. That's in his past, you know.
Hmm.
It's no different than watching a mystery, you know, sitcom, or not a sitcom, you know, a procedural where, you know, a character, oh, they have a dark and mysterious past. I wonder what that's all about. And having it slowly reveal itself over the course of the experience of enjoying the story.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think this discussion so far has been exactly what I'm hoping it would be because I feel like, you know, I understand where you're coming from with that, right? And I think friends of mine that are cinephiles and love movies, like they would be much more interested in a game, like you said, that is basically an interactive movie than something like a Sonic or like a platforming game that really doesn't have a whole lot of story, but is more just like, oh, you like jumping and running fast, and so yeah, I just think that's such a cool perspective. I have never played it myself. I've never played any of the God of War games, but I've seen cutscenes from the game just on TikTok and different things, and yeah, like it's awesome. Like in the similar vein, I think of like Uncharted, which they did make a movie for, and in my opinion, the game is better than the movies.
Yeah.
And so, but like the opening scene of Uncharted 2, where you wake up and you're on a bus car or train car that's falling off of a cliff, like just so captivating and enthralling, and like, going into Rapture for the first time, and BioShock, and like, things like that. Like, I feel like, yeah, absolutely. Like you said, like almost like art and storytelling from that standpoint, for sure. But yeah, God of War 8 2018 is awesome. I mean, so, and I've never played it, but I know it's awesome. So cool, man. Are you ready for my number one pick? I think
Yeah,
it's gonna surprise you.
I'm
So
ready to pick my jaw up off the floor.
I picked a battle royale, but not in the sense that you think.
The Fall Guys.
It's Fall Guys. Yes, I absolutely love Fall Guys. So there's a little context to this. So the first reason being, it's a 3-button game. There's jump, there is dive, and there is grab and run. So, I mean, 3 buttons and a joystick. Of course, there's a camera, and that can be tricky, but a lot of the stages are just very straightforward, especially in its early days. This game, I have had my parents play. I have had my wife and son play, and my friend in Spain, Steve, who at the time was not a gamer whatsoever. We were looking for a way to hang out together. I said, hey, download this game called Fall Guys. You know, it's really simple, and I think you can figure it out. And the number one thing, and not the number one, but a huge part of it is accessibility, and it is a free game on every platform. And so, and you can play it on your phone even, which is crazy. And so it is extremely accessible. It is extremely simple. And I like the fact that, there is different rounds. There are team games built into Fall Guys for different rounds. And then, of course, there's one winner. And unless you play squads, but then you're trying to like win with your squad. But I just think at its core, it represents video games really well. I mean, you're just this dopey bean guy, and there are now, granted, as it's gone free to play, the collectibles are harder to get because they like cost money and stuff. But there's collectibles, and you can customize your character and change their color and their patterns, and they can wear hats, and there's just so many awesome things, in my opinion, that Fall Guys has. But at its core, it is just such a simple game. It is, hey, run from here to here. It's an obstacle course. It's MXC. It's Wipeout. But it's a video game. Survive this thing that's happening. If you don't, you lose. And it's and then after you lose, it's like, hey, I got to like. And there's progression. Hey, like, I didn't get past the first round. Now I made it through the first round. Now I'm on the second round. Oh, now I got to the final, but I didn't win. Oh, I got my first crown. Which, if you want to watch like a captivating thing, watching Tim the Tap Man try to get his first crown, there's a whole video on YouTube about it. That it's honestly like enthralling, because this guy was playing and he just like could not get it, and then he finally did, and it was just like this insane thing. But I love Fall Guys. I will love Fall Guys forever. I mean, the direction it's gone right now, it's gotten a little bit crazy, because now you can create your own levels and stages, which I'm not really interested in that, but catering to the Minecraft generation. But there is I played yesterday, and it's classic stages, and it's just all stuff that's, classic. So I really like it, and it's co-op with your friends. There's just a lot to love about Fall Guys, and it is my number one recommendation for a new gamer to play a new game and to try it out. That's what I would recommend as number one. So,
Not putting any negativity on this, but I feel like I could much more easily recommend Fall Guys Season 1 or whatever it was called more so now than I can recommend. I mean, like you said, you just fired it up and it was classic maps. I feel like one intimidating element of Fall Guys when starting out is that you're just thrown into a thing. And yes, a lot of them are just going to have you moving around or picking up penguins or racing to the end or punching balls and trying to throw them into a certain thing. But I just worry that that might be a little intimidating at the start. Whereas with the pool of games that it originally shipped with, I felt like once you got to know them, once you see a repeat, you're like, oh, I know what's going on here.
yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
worry now that there's just too much of a breadth and width. It's kind of the same reason why I don't play Fortnite. Fortnite was not your battle royale of choice for this thing, because I feel like Fortnite can be very intimidating, even in no build, in just the map is very large, and each game you might be, having to engage with a different area, getting familiarity with those kind of things just gets a little intimidating. But I can speak from experience that I think it was like a year and change ago, I went over to a friend's house, and they don't game a lot. There's three of us, and we just fired up Fall Guys and passed the controller every round after we finished it. So it was nice to be able to give them that little extra context about what your goal was as soon as it showed up on the map, more than just the one sentence of an explanation as to what it is you were about to do, to just give them some encouragement that way. And yeah, trying to get farther than you'd ever gotten for, or farther than the guy before you, finish a little bit higher, or get that crown at the top. I figured that you would have to pick some game where there can be only one winner.
Well, and I agree with you. I think it was a hard number one pick just because of where the game is at right now, and I 100% agree. But I like you said, like season 1 where there was 13 games, like just so approachable. And my hope is that eventually, it will come back to that being an option of, hey, here's like classic stages from seasons 1 through 5 or 1 through 3. And I think they'll get there at some point, but they're not just quite there yet. But I thought a lot about that, and even still, like, I don't know. I still think if you put the time into it, like if you're a new person and you give it a little bit of time and you get some of those older maps, then like it could be a lot of fun. But no, I definitely agree with what you're saying.
It's still a very good number one.
For
Don't let
sure.
any don't let my RBF or the tone of my
No.
voice that you
No, no,
convinced that.
no. For sure. I agree. I agree with what you said. But it's
And
still
I agree with you placing it at number one.
it still is number 1 for me though. So, but cool. Well, do you have any other ones or any other recommendations before we
Um,
move
I
on?
guess I had like I feel like we kind of did mobile games a disservice, and I'm really not going to talk about mobile games right now either. But I will just mention a game that you play with your phone, and that would be any of the Jackbox games. I think that those are an excellent entryway into, just different ways that you can. They're just party games,
Sure.
A lot of them are trivia games, which I do appreciate and enjoy as well. Yeah, I really like those Jackbox games.
Yeah, I have 3 and 7. Gotta have
Okay.
Quiplash and Murder Trivia Party.
Trivia Murder Party. Let's
Yeah,
go.
good times. So, well, cool. Well, I hope that if you are a new gamer watching, that you now have some stuff to maybe go try out. And if you are a seasoned gamer, um, obviously the games we recommended for a reason. If you've never picked them up or tried them, definitely check them out. So cool. Well,
Is this where we interject the TikTok that I sent you the other day about if you play the New York Times Wordle or the crossword puzzle or connections, are you a gamer? Are you playing a video game?
so that is a conversation for another day because
For another day, you think it'll be a
we're
full
at
episode for us?
38 minutes. We got to keep it tight, right?
All right, all
So
right. Thanks for watching the clock. I do appreciate that.
yes.
Our achievement of the week is from the game called It Takes Two. It is the, I believe, penultimate, the final achievement that you would unlock upon completing the game. And the name of the achievement is It Took Two, which I think is very cute. It
Yeah.
took two to beat It Takes Two.
Yeah, because you can't beat it by yourself, right?
I mean, you could use the other controller with your feet, maybe, but it's not intended to be played by one person.
Gotcha. Well, this show takes two. This is Meg and Wade.
Oh my gosh. You're right.
Yes. Cool. So basically, that's the achievement you get for beating the game.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
I feel like you can play through all of It Takes Two, get to the end, and only unlock that achievement without ever unlocking anything else. But I could be wrong on that front because I feel like a lot of the other achievements within it are kind of like miscellaneous things for finding little hidden secrets.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing the achievement of the week, Wade. And if you've never played It Takes Two, find a friend and figure it out and beat it. Do it. Do it. It's on sale right now as of when. Well, I don't know if it will be when this
Oh
episode.
my gosh, I need to get on this Steam sale. Which also,
Uh,
through the power of time travel, nobody else is going to be able to take advantage of these things unless they already know.
Watch our show. All right, so song of the week is a song from Fall Guys because it is number one on my list, and had a few different ones to choose from, but I'm going with the final stage theme from season one, and so there is it's basically just a sped up version of the main theme, and as it progresses, it's epic, but then there's just this core memory when I hear the thumping bass line of just the bass and the drums going, of jumping from hexagon to hexagon to hexagon, or sprinting up Fall Mountain to try to get that dang crown, and just my heart racing, beating so fast, just like trying not to choke and trying to get on hexagons, just jumping platform to platform, hoping not to die, then falling 2 stages down, and then coming back and getting an epic win. So you guys will get to listen to that one on the way out. So I don't exactly, it has a name, but it's the final stage theme of Fall Guys season one. whatever, whatever. We'll have the name of it in the corner, but sweet.
We don't typically listen to the songs after we record, but we're absolutely going to this week because
Yes.
that's gonna unlock a core memory for me to hear that song again.
Top tier. So yes. Well, great. Well, we appreciate y'all watching. Let us know in the comments below what recommendations you would have yourselves from as starter games or games that people need to play if they're new to gaming. And we appreciate everybody's love and support of our show. Made it to a dozen episodes, so that's cool. But yeah, Wade, this way. Wade, send us off, good friend.
Yeah, thanks again for checking out the show. If you've made it this far, go ahead, leave a comment, smash that like button is what they say, even though we're perfectly satisfied with the tiny dedicated audience that we have of the handful of people that go and check this thing out. We appreciate you, and we hope that you appreciate what we're doing. Mag was getting ready to do some hand motions to mess up his camera again, but thank
Oh, Lord.
But yes, until we see you in the next one, have a great rest of your day, week, month, all that jazz.
Bye.